Welcome to Dazzle of Dawn. Today you're invited into a rare kind of journey, meeting the Innocent Archetype through the lenses of metaphysics, quantum mechanics, and quantum physics. Let each line open a little clearing inside you. Breathe a bit deeper, soften your focus, and notice that within you lives a vast field of possibilities, ready to be touched. This episode is not just information to store. It is a living field that seeks resonance with your awareness, a gentle entanglement that can reorganize how you see yourself, others, and the world you move through every day. Before we dive in, a simple request with real power. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do it consciously. That small action is a signal, both to the algorithm and to your own mind, that you're choosing expansion. Intention turns a click into commitment. When you share, you extend the waveform of this message. You become part of a network that quietly lifts people who might be waiting for a spark, a word, a reminder. If this content clarifies your path, let it illuminate someone else's too. But the innocent carries the freshness of a first gaze. It is the inner child who can meet the ordinary with wonder and hold hope even when life feels chaotic. But this purity is not blind naivety. It's a courageous state of consciousness, meeting reality without armor, yet not without wisdom. From here, softer outcomes become possible because your nervous system is less defended and more open. The innocent helps your vibration reset, turning you into a bridge between what is still unseen and what is ready to manifest, between intention and embodiment, between potential and lived experience. In metaphysics, the innocent symbolizes a mind unburdened by unnecessary weight, beliefs crusted over by fear, cynicism, and past disappointments. A clean gaze gently dissolves what has calcified. Quantum mechanics offers a parallel. Observation shapes outcome. The innocent observes without the heavy filters that distort, allowing the wave of possibilities to collapse into forms that are coherent, elegant, and kind. Think of it as soul-level technology, purity as a tuner that brings your inner frequency into clearer signal, less static, more music. In that clarity, you find choices that were always there, but previously invisible. Years ago, I started a project surrounded by other people's doubts. I chose to enter with the innocence vibe, curious, open, not rehearsing failure in advance. Almost immediately, doors that shouldn't open began to open. A timely email, a chance conversation, an unlikely collaborator who brought the missing piece. At the time, it felt like luck. Looking back, I see alignment, attention and intention meeting a friendly field. That experience taught me that innocence is not weakness. It's quiet strength. It doesn't deny complexity. It meets complexity without panic, which is precisely what lets new pathways appear. So, prepare to walk this study with a willing heart and an attentive mind. In the next blocks, we'll explore how the innocent converses with superposition, vibration, and fields of coherence, and how these ideas can translate into daily practices. Each reflection will be a step, not only for understanding, but for inhabiting a steadier presence. Breathe again. Choose one simple intention, like, meet today with a kinder gaze. Let the words land slowly. Keep what resonates, release what doesn't, and allow this content to touch the deepest part of your field, where change begins gently, then grows. The essence of the innocent and the frequency of purity. When we speak of the innocent, we summon more than a pleasant personality trait. We're touching a luminous principle inside the collective unconscious, a radiant seed that holds the memory of beginnings, the pristine instant before any wound or story settled in. Just as the quantum vacuum contains every potential before particles take shape, the innocent is a quiet reservoir within you, a pulse of pure potential waiting for the light of awareness to coax it into bloom. But the purity it represents is not a naive refusal to see life's edges, but an inner stance that suspends quick judgments long enough for reality to reveal its hidden design. It's a gaze that doesn't rush to interpret, that lets the unseen architecture behind events rise naturally. In quantum mechanics, the observer's attitude shapes the outcome of an experiment. In the same way, a mind that approaches life with openness generates conditions for new pathways to appear, dissolving walls built from accumulated experience or hardened disappointment. I remember a season when I chose a professional path that ran counter to everyone's expectations. Many doubted, some predicted failure before I'd even begun. Still, I kept the innocence posture alive inside me. Equal parts curiosity and steady trust. That choice generated synchronicities no logical forecast could have charted. Unexpected allies, opportunities arriving in perfect timing, doors opening without effort. I learned that purity is not fragility. It is a subtle strategy, a quantum alignment able to attract support and reveal openings hidden from skeptical eyes. Metaphysically, the innocent calls us back to the 0 point, the calm beneath all narratives, where presence stands uncovered and whole. One simple practice can bring you closer. Upon waking, before touching your phone or scanning the day's tasks, close your eyes and breathe as if receiving the first breath you've ever taken. Then open them as though you're seeing the world for the very first time. This small ritual rewires habitual circuits, restoring freshness to perception and inviting wonder to settle in again. Quantum physics speaks of coherence, the ability of systems to vibrate in harmony, creating stability and strength. The innocent works on that same wavelength. By staying free from cynicism, it organizes emotional turbulence, letting clarity surface from confusion. This is why, in the presence of someone who nurtures this purity, you feel calm and quietly inspired to align with that same current. Their being radiates a field that softens tension, inviting the essential to step forward, unhurried and clear. Recognizing the innocent within is opening a portal to primordial joy, the quiet happiness that exists before achievement or applause. It allows a clear stream to keep running beneath life's boulders, untouched by storms on the surface. From that clarity, choices no longer rise from fear or habit. They emerge from a deeper source, one attuned to the greater flow of life. And when decisions spring from that field of harmony, reality responds with paths that mirror your state of coherence, guiding you with a subtle precision toward what truly supports your unfolding. The gaze of the innocent and the field of possibilities. The innocent carries a rare gift, the ability to look at life without the haze of suspicion. This stance is not just a pleasant personality trait. It's an essential resource for interacting with the field of infinite possibilities described by quantum physics. When the mind is crowded with judgments, reality hardens into fixed shapes. But when there is inner space, events can take on fresh contours, responding to the vibration of an observer who meets them with genuine receptivity, curiosity, and an openness that softens rigid patterns. In the language of archetypes, the innocent is the point where the soul meets the world without the armor of ego. Jung described it as the state in which the self remains unscarred by the shadows of experience, still whole, linked to the living matrix of the psyche. That same matrix finds its echo in modern science, the subtle field where particles emerge, dance and dissolve, following laws we can't see but can feel through their effects. The innocent is the human reflection of this quantum state, a reminder that inner purity has the power to collapse more harmonious patterns in the fabric of existence. There is a quiet practice I often recommend when worries pile up and the mind feels cluttered. Sit somewhere calm. Let your breath settle naturally and choose a simple object to contemplate. A leaf, a stone, a ray of sunlight passing through glass. Allow yourself to simply look without forcing meaning. Though humble, this exercise restores to awareness the quality of undistorted attention, letting the vibration of innocence wash away the static created by repetitive thinking, freeing up room for insight to arrive on its own. But the innocence vibration also reveals something vital about how we shape our reality. When we stay open, even in uncertainty, we send signals of trust into the quantum field, and those signals become invisible templates for experience. Quantum theory speaks of wave functions stabilizing in the act of measurement. Metaphorically, when we choose to meet the world with unguarded eyes, we offer the universe a frame where beauty, coherence, and synchronicity can take form. An invitation for potential to settle into elegant shape. But this perspective doesn't cancel discernment. A mature innocent doesn't close their eyes to danger but keeps an inner light alive while moving through shadowed territory. In my own life, I've met moments when doubt grew deafening. Yet by recalling this archetype, I held on to a quiet trust, enough to guide steady steps until new horizons emerged. It is an inner posture that strengthens without hardening, allowing the heart to stay open in the middle of storms, resilient without losing warmth. By integrating the gaze of the innocent, the seeker finds a key for transforming the ordinary. Small gestures, listening without rushing to answer, starting a project without fastening yourself to the fear of failure, or simply walking slowly beneath the morning light, become portals for expansion. The archetype reminds us that life is generous to those who show up whole, willing to be present. Each instant becomes an invitation to renewal, a living laboratory where consciousness can explore, refine, and shape the very story it inhabits. Original trust and the creative power. There is a quiet quality that holds the innocent steady, a primordial trust. It doesn't arise from external guarantees, but from an intimate link with the source of life itself. When this trust is protected, even after life has left its fractures, the individual taps into a creative current that precedes form. It's as if an underground river, hidden from sight, nourishes the courage to step where reason hesitates, letting the spirit move in rhythm with the subtle forces shaping the universe. Modern science shows that living systems thrive when coherence exists among their parts. On a subjective level, the innocent nurtures this inner coherence, weaving thought, feeling, and action into one resonant field. This harmony doesn't come from complex calculation, but from the simplicity of a heart willing to stay open. When we allow that energy to steer our decisions, reality often responds in unexpected ways, carving trails where we once saw only walls, giving structure to what had felt unreachable. I recall a defining moment in my own professional path. A choice stood before me, and every voice around urged extreme caution. Yet something inside whispered that it was time to advance, even without a complete map. That whisper wasn't recklessness. It was the echo of the innocent, inviting me to trust the larger flow. Taking that daring step bore fruits far beyond expectations, teaching me that when purity guides intention, the quantum field itself arranges to sustain the movement, aligning unseen variables to support new outcomes. Metaphysically, the innocent's trust acts as a seal authorizing expansion. By attuning to this state, the seeker becomes receptive to insights, encounters, and synchronicities that logic alone could never orchestrate. Just as particles shift in response to observation, life bends toward the vibrational stance we embody. The innocent reminds us that, by trusting, we invite fresh configurations to sketch themselves across the horizon, dissolving what once appeared immovable or beyond reach. This archetype also reminds us that purity is not exempt from responsibility. To trust is not to surrender into passivity. It is to act from an integral center, where intention and ethics walk together. The creative energy it stirs must be channeled with clarity, so that the power to manifest does not collapse into whim, but becomes an expression that uplifts both personal growth and collective evolution. Mature innocence is generous, yet firmly aware, radiant yet anchored in discernment. By cultivating this original trust, we learn to cooperate with the very architecture of reality. Actions stop being scattered impulses and become deliberate movements resonating with a larger order. Everyday life turns into a space for intentional creation. Words carry constructive weight, gestures radiate meaning, choices sculpt futures. The innocent shows us that when vibration remains clear and transparent, life transforms into a stage where the soul can choreograph its most authentic dance, moving in harmony with the vast intelligence that sustains all things. Joy as a creative frequency. True joy is one of the clearest signs of the innocent's presence. It isn't a thin layer of excitement that fades when challenged, but a serene vibration that rises when we align with life's essential flow. This joy carries a quiet, almost sacred quality because it springs from recognizing that simply existing is a miracle. Just as light travels through the vacuum before we see it, a silent joy moves through our inner space before showing up in gestures and words, radiating a field that lifts everything around it, offering warmth where there was heaviness. When this frequency is welcomed, body, mind, and emotions fall into a more coherent rhythm. Quantum physics suggests that well-organized systems emit stable patterns, and joy works as one of these unseen organizers. It gives cohesion to thought, sharpens decisions, and softens automatic reactions, making us more receptive to subtle signals that guide our path. A soul nourished by this state finds enough lightness to inhabit even demanding experiences without collapsing under their weight, carrying calm strength through complexity. I remember a time when a task felt impossibly heavy. Instead of clinging to the tension of outcomes, I allowed myself to feel gratitude for simply being there, learning, creating, sharing space with others. That shift in vibration released a stream of ideas and solutions that had been hidden behind the fog of pressure. I learned that joy doesn't depend on the absence of difficulty. It grows from an inner choice to stay connected to the broader meaning that holds each circumstance, reminding us that life is never reduced to a single challenge. The Innocent also teaches that joy is more than an emotion. It is a language the universe understands. When we radiate this frequency, we attract experiences resonant with its tone, much as quantum fields respond to specific stimuli. Joy generates resonance, aligning the particles of our being with more harmonious realities. That's why cultivating moments of quiet contentment, a mindful breath, a spontaneous smile, a grateful glance, is a spiritual practice as potent as any advanced technique, shaping the very fabric of how we meet the day. Metaphysically, joy is the song of the self recognizing its presence in the now. It is an antidote to cynicism, a steady force protecting purity without confining it to fragility. This joy does not deny the world's sorrows. It moves through them with an awareness that something greater carries the path. Jung spoke of the archetype as a bridge between unconscious and conscious realms. The Innocent's joy is such a bridge, illuminated by hope, creativity, and quiet courage, linking depths of psyche to the clarity of waking life. When we integrate joy into our journey, we expand our capacity to shape realities aligned with the soul's deeper purpose. This frequency invites us to drop needless burdens, to simplify the stream of thought, and to let life move with more fluid grace. The Innocent reminds us that true alchemy begins when lightness and trust coexist, turning each step into a silent testimony that we are co-authors of the quantum field we call reality, dancing with it rather than standing apart. Guarding purity and meeting the shadow. The Innocent's purity, once matured, is not fragility, but a steady strength that holds clarity amid the turbulence of human emotions. Jung reminded us that every archetype carries a luminous pole and a shadowed face, and it is the recognition of this duality that protects the brightness of innocence from dissolving into illusion. Without that awareness, the Innocent risks becoming captive to fantasies, unable to read the subtle currents that move within the soul and shape the unseen fabric of relationships. In metaphysical terms, the shadow is the collection of parts within us that have yet to be integrated but still shape our choices. Quantum physics offers an intriguing mirror. Particles can dwell in multiple states until an act of observation collapses them into form. Something similar happens with unconscious material. Latent forces remain unshaped until attention's light calls them into clarity. A mature innocent learns to shine that compassionate gaze on the hidden regions without losing the softness of its center, allowing insight without self-condemnation. And there was a season in my own life when I had to face deeply rooted beliefs about worthiness and value. At first I resisted, fearing that looking too closely might damage the natural spark that inspired me. Over time I understood that it was precisely by integrating those shadows that purity could take root, becoming stability instead of a fleeting brightness. The innocent does not run from the dark. It walks alongside it, letting the inner light reveal what once was only silent static, turning confusion into an opening for depth. True innocence contains a quiet discernment born from contact with one's own depths. It is not the absence of experience, but the wisdom of keeping the heart whole after crossing interior deserts. Much like a quantum system balancing wave and particle, the psyche learns to host both freshness and gravity. That harmony doesn't erase life's complexity, but creates a field where clarity can settle without canceling mystery, allowing strength and tenderness to coexist in meaningful rhythm. Practicing this integration can start with simple gestures, setting aside moments of silence to observe thoughts without rushing to judge, writing feelings in a journal, or holding an inner dialogue with traits you often reject. These actions fortify the vibrational field where purity and shadow may coexist, forming a presence less fragile, no longer needing to deny aspects of self to maintain an appearance of light. The innocent's wholeness is born in this welcoming stance, an unshakable gentleness. When the innocent meets and embraces its own shadow, it discovers that purity is not a fixed condition, but a living movement, a steady return to center. This realization brings a serene freedom, the knowledge that we can remain open even while facing the world's contradictions, without betraying the integrity of our essence. In that space, the vibration of innocence becomes a trustworthy compass, guiding steady steps toward creations aligned with the soul's deeper purpose, illuminating paths where authenticity and quiet strength shape what we bring into being. Gentle courage and the call to create. When the innocent matures, it reveals a kind of courage that needs neither armor nor grand gestures. It is a quiet strength born of inner transparency, allowing us to move through life with a blend of lightness and steady resolve. This gentle bravery resembles the way subatomic particles glide within the quantum field. Without friction, following invisible lines of coherence, held in place by laws we rarely perceive yet, which sustain the harmony of the cosmos and give structure to unfolding creation. Such courage doesn't erase fear, it reframes it. It lets us see fear without dramatizing it, understanding it as a signal that something new is seeking entry. In quantum language, fear can be read as a vibration pointing toward uncollapsed regions of our experience, fields still waiting for conscious observation. The innocent senses this and chooses to move forward even amid the fog. trusting that each step will illuminate the curve just ahead, revealing ground where a moment ago there was only uncertainty. In my own path, I've found that the courage required is often not in heroic challenges, but in the subtler moments. Beginning a difficult conversation, presenting an idea still tender and unfinished, or simply holding silence when everyone else rushes for quick answers. In these spaces, I discovered that the innocent's courage isn't impulsive. It rises from a deep rooting, a living contact with the essence that quietly reminds us moment by moment of the value of staying whole and clear. Metaphysically, this courage connects with the principle of co-creation. The universe responds to the vibrational clarity of our intentions. When we choose to act from a transparent place, aligned with the self, we become channels through which new realities can take shape. Quantum physics describes similar dynamics, patterns appearing from seemingly chaotic fields whenever coherence is present. The innocent understands that to create is to engage in dialogue with these subtle forces, inviting the unseen to reveal its form through the language of presence. To nourish this courage, it helps to cultivate practices that anchor awareness, walking in nature while letting thoughts settle, pausing to feel the breath before major decisions, or writing openly about one's own fears so they can find shape and transform into clarity. These simple gestures become rituals, firming the internal ground and preparing it to receive intuition, guiding actions that resonate with the vibration of pure, creative innocence. When the innocent answers this call to create, it ceases to be merely a symbol of hope and becomes an active participant in shaping new landscapes. Its gentle courage molds fields of possibility, inspires trust in others, and reminds us that every reality is malleable when touched by a consciousness willing to remain open. In that state, life stops appearing as a fixed backdrop and reveals itself as a living fabric, always ready to be redesigned by the dance of intention aligned with the heart. Continuous renewal and the cycle of creation. The innocent holds a precious secret, the capacity to be reborn, to refresh its gaze at every sunrise. This isn't just a poetic image, but an operational principle sustaining the evolution of consciousness. Just as the universe expands endlessly, shaping new forms out of a primordial hush, the innocent reminds us that purity must be renewed each day, kept alive through conscious choices that nurture an inner freshness, allowing wonder to remain present even in familiar landscapes. Quantum physics describes a cosmos where nothing stays still. Particles oscillate, fields vibrate, information reorganizes in an ongoing dance. This dynamic finds an echo in the soul's movement, when it lets go of rigid certainties and welcomes new perspectives. The innocent understands that purity is not a frozen state, but a current, a quiet agreement to stay permeable to beauty and learning offered by each moment. Even when life delivers paradoxes or sudden changes, demanding flexibility and creative trust. I remember a stage when I needed to reinvent projects that once felt solid and complete. The temptation was to hold tight to the comfort of what was already built, but something deeper called for transformation. I chose the path of creative release, trusting that by letting go of what had fulfilled its purpose, new ideas more aligned with the present intention would surface. Guided by the Innocent Archetype, that transition became an act of expansion rather than a story of loss, showing that endings can be generous thresholds. Metaphysically, ongoing renewal is a dialogue with the deeper self, the one attuned to the invisible threads behind events. Each act of updating vibrates like a wave reorganizing the surrounding field, clearing room for experiences that mirror our inner stance. That's why simple rituals, reviewing intentions at the close of a lunar cycle, rearranging one's physical space, or beginning the day with affirmations of openness, can heighten the resonance of the new and prepare us to meet it with clarity. This archetype also teaches that the cycle of creation isn't limited to visible outcomes. There are subtle renewals happening quietly, as crystallized thoughts make space for wider perceptions. Purity, in this sense, is a gentle discipline, remaining receptive even when nothing seems to shift on the surface. Such a posture keeps the soil ready, so realities more attuned can ripen in their own season, like seeds germinating underground before breaking through as luminous growth. By understanding renewal as a continuous movement, the seeker frees themselves from the weight of stagnation. Each breath becomes an invitation to begin again. Each decision an act of artistry. The Innocent reminds us that life responds to the freshness of awareness, offering pathways increasingly coherent with the vibration we cultivate. In this space, the cycle of creation ceases to be a distant theory and becomes an intimate experience, where we take part in weaving the living fabric of the universe, crafting its texture through presence and steady openness. The wisdom of simplicity and the art of holding the essential. The essence of the Innocent reveals that true wisdom doesn't hide inside layers of elaborate theories, but lives in the simplicity that sustains life's core. This simplicity is not shallowness. It's the skill of staying in touch with what is essential, even when circumstances try to pull us toward distraction. Just as the quantum field holds an unseen order beneath apparent chaos, the purity of this archetype points to a silent balance, organizing the whole of existence, inviting us to breathe beneath the noise. In metaphysical language, simplicity is a quality of spirit that understands the value of enough. When we stop trying to fill every moment with noise, a quiet interval opens where creative intelligence can speak. The Innocent embodies this attitude, a being who can savor the clarity of a gesture, the sharpness of an honest word, the calm of a sunset. It reminds us that once the superfluous dissolves, essence becomes audible, and life acquires a grounded weight, a sense of presence that deepens each encounter. In my own path, I learned that many answers I sought did not come from exhaustive analysis, but from quiet pauses, moments where I allowed myself to simply be without steering the outcome. Clarity arrived like a subtle breath, carrying discernment and ease. That experience revealed that the Innocent is a silent teacher, able to guide complex choices through the clear simplicity that surfaces when the heart is free from clutter and the mind releases its urge to dominate every scene. Quantum physics speaks of states of minimal energy, where systems find equilibrium before leaping to new levels. This principle mirrors what happens in our psyche when we reach an inner point of rest. Simplicity is that minimal energy, a fertile space where ideas assemble before blossoming into action. When we cultivate this quality, we access a reservoir of creativity, feeding both tangible projects and the emergence of higher human capacities, patience, kindness, discernment, and the quiet joy of understanding. To nourish this wisdom, contemplative practices become potent allies. Sitting in silence before a landscape, tasting food with full attention, or taking a few conscious breaths before starting the day, all these refine our perception of what is truly essential. They restore harmony lost when we let ourselves be trapped by demands that don't reflect the soul's deeper rhythm, grounding us in a steadiness that outlasts fleeting pressures and expectations. By sustaining simplicity, the Innocent reminds us that life need not be endlessly complicated to be profound. It shows that true impact arises from actions rooted in clarity and lightness, and that spiritual greatness is measured not by how much we accumulate, but by how fully we live from a luminous center. This silent wisdom prepares the ground so that each gesture, each thought, and every word can carry the strength of an entire universe, aligned with the vibration of purity and the spacious calm that comes from honoring the essential. Closing and final invitation. As we arrive at the end of this journey, we can see that the Innocent is not merely a symbolic figure, but a state of consciousness we can nurture and expand. It reminds us that even amid life's complexities, there's always a point of light capable of sustaining hope and creativity. That point, quietly alive in every human being, connects us to the subtle laws described by quantum physics and to the timeless wisdom preserved by metaphysics. To recognize this inner core is to open space for life to reveal itself as wider, richer, and more vibrant than we often dare to imagine. Everything we have walked through here shows that purity and discernment are not opposites but complementary strengths. A mature Innocent looks at the world without losing the freshness of perception, yet without abandoning a grounded sense of reality. It learns to marry the softness of the heart with the clarity of the mind, becoming an observer capable of collapsing experiences that mirror harmony. It is at this intersection that science, philosophy, and spirituality meet, forming threads of a single tapestry of meaning that links inner life to the outer cosmos. There is an invitation woven through this entire exploration to apply what you have learned, letting the vibration of purity guide small daily choices. On waking, for instance, take a few quiet moments to acknowledge life as a gift and notice how it changes the color of your day. In conversations, offer full attention, resisting the urge to rush into responses. In times of uncertainty, remember that the Innocent's gentle trust can create the space where solutions have room to emerge, revealing pathways that logic alone cannot chart. From a quantum perspective, each act of awareness reorganizes the field around you. When we cultivate the Innocent state, we begin to interact with reality in a more creative and coherent way, cooperating with the subtle order that underlies the universe. This cooperation doesn't require rigid effort, but a lucid presence, an inner listening that notices delicate signals and responds to them authentically. The simplicity of this gesture is what makes it powerful, capable of shifting the course of unfolding events toward clarity and balance. But let this study live beyond the intellect. Let it resonate as a living experience. Return to it whenever you need to remember that innocence is not weakness, but a wellspring of vitality and insight. Allow yourself to dwell in that field, letting its light illuminate your choices, relationships, and projects. In doing so, you nourish not only your own journey, but also radiate a frequency that uplifts everyone who crosses your path, gently multiplying trust and renewal in the collective atmosphere. Finally, I invite you to keep exploring other archetypes here on the channel. Each one carries a fragment of the grand map of psyche and universe, revealing different aspects of the dance between consciousness and creation. If this content has brought you value, like this video and subscribe to Dazzle of Dawn. That simple gesture strengthens the quantum flow sustaining this community and helps expand a field of learning that inspires, transforms, and spreads light far beyond where these words first found you. And so, see you in the next video, with more information on everything that involves growing, evolving, transforming, and manifesting. See you soon.